Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Trading Takes with myself, Sam. And this week is just with Chris. Judah is away on vacation. I think he's like looking for his future wife in Florida or something like that. We're not too sure. He just sent us this complex he was staying at. It sounds like he's having a great time, but no Judah today. Just got the two of us. But we also have a very special guest. One of the legends of the game. He's been around over, you wouldn't be able to tell, but he's been around over 30 years trading, even though he must have the most complex moisturizing and skincare routine ever. Whenever you see an interview with this guy, the first comment is always, how does he look so good? And what's his moisturizer? So maybe we'll find out tonight. It is, of course, Mr. Russell Valenti. How you doing?
What's up? How are you guys doing?
We're great, thanks. Thank you for
Doing
joining us.
great.
Yeah, you guys look good. Sam, as usual.
I'm trying.
Chris
I need
always looks
to.
good. Great. The best hair in the business is Chris.
Second best hair. That's it. got you on.
We always think about our backgrounds, and I'm looking at yours, and I tell you what, we'll just zoom out a second to look at Russell's background. You're obviously like a massive Bucks fan. This is what me and Chris were saying. I need something on my wall. I need to fill this space here so it
You
looks a
see
bit
that
more
I have the
exciting.
sofa there when I need a little nap, a little power nap, and if I don't go to the gym or something, and I just then around the corner, just so an executive suite that's it's always worked, and then when I'm in New York City, I have to work. You know, my wife's on one, and it's all remote, and I'm just like, it's just not from it's interesting. It's the dynamics are different, and I like just having a place to go to as opposed to home. Yeah, it's easier, but it's just it's other people working in this building, but you know they always say, "What do you do?" When they see all my screens, I'm like, "One, I'm just a money extractor." You know,
Is
or
that what you said?
I don't say day trader. I don't say because they go, "Oh, one of those." So I just keep it vague, or I'm a risk manager. So it's I have fun with that. So
Yeah, I never really know what to say because I don't really want to have a conversation about it. Like I don't really want people because I'm sure like most of the time the first question is, "Oh, what should I buy?" or whatever, and I'm like, and then when I start like explaining, "Oh, what I mainly do is like basically short the worst companies I can find," I just go on a tangent and I just see the life fall out of their face. They just have zero interest at all. So yeah, maybe I'll just do that and say, "Oh, some boring
well,
finance."
you're actually, since you're on the other side of the pond, it's actually pretty good because you don't have to say, I'll say, yeah, most of the time I go, 70-30. I would say I go on the short side. But listen, I'll go on the long side too. If I'll switch it up, and they go shorting, that's un-American. So they
Oh
won't call you un-American.
no.
I haven't heard that one in a while, but
I'm already an American.
yeah.
I'm British. So, although I'm very pro, I love America. So maybe let me clarify. I'm not an American. I'm just not
No,
American.
I
But
know, I
yeah,
know.
I love that place. I mean, I've been. It's the most my most frequented
Well,
place.
we know 2 years on the road to Las Vegas. We do
Two
know
years
that.
ago to Vegas, yeah, and last year obviously I went to
You
I
went to
tipped off
Nate,
New
right?
England as well. So
Yeah, I
I
saw
love
that.
Florida. I think Florida's awesome.
Yeah, I know you started there, and I know how you loved lobster rolls.
Oh yeah. Yeah, last year, I don't know if I spoke about this, but last year I was the most adventurous I've been with food ever. And a lot of it was based on guys actually I've met trading. Like Nate
Right.
put a lobster roll in my hand and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I had crab with lads and things like that. But anyway, enough of my food antics of last year. Hopefully I can top it this year though. So just in case, I mean, you've been around so long and I know you've done quite a few interviews. So hopefully most people know who you are. But just in case they don't, perhaps just a brief pitch on and a brief introduction. Who
Sure.
are you?
My name's Russell Valenti. Um, I've been trading almost 32 years, and started out as a financial advisor uh, with my dad. I was kind of always interested in markets. Um, he was the old guy that had the paper charts that would get mailed to his house, and I would play with them as a kid. And I just always like, just then you start hearing things, and so I don't know, you can make money. And I started working manual labor jobs. He always made me go to work at 14, so I had a good work ethic. Every summer, it was a simple life, but a week's vacation, we'd go to the beach, but then I'd work my summer job, and I always liked money. I always liked money in my pocket. So um, but he was a financial advisor for a long time, and I was blessed to get into the dot-com era, and blessed, lucky, cursed, a lot of it. So that's where I started, and I think for 20, I don't know, 24 years, 23 years, I was a financial advisor, and I don't, it was great. I was very blessed, but it wasn't. I was taught from his aspect that, trading, everything was trading, and technical analysis. And I'm a visual learner. I've always been that way. And I have to really be into something. So, once you make money on a trade or two, you start getting hooked going, wow, this is, different. It was a different time. But you start getting spoiled and think, wow, this is pretty easy. And of course, we know it's not. So, but yeah, I would describe myself as a money extractor and or head of my risk management department. So,
I joke, and I think the one I like more is when I say I'm a builder or an account builder. I just don't tell them which type, basically, of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
I'm
an
just a
account
builder.
manager.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly, exactly.
Well,
an account.
Russell, I mean, 32 years, in the markets, that's a long time. And I mean, you must have seen everything. You went through the .com, you went through 2008, you went through, everything. Do you have any, wild stories that kind of stick out, or like anything that you've come across, or even things that you've heard of in that time that are just like
Oh,
they
God.
blew your mind?
I have so many things that have come across. Um, I think .com was the extreme, just to buy a breakout, and it just said .com, and here I am, was told by my dad, you're not smart, and I just buy breakouts, and I was trading with the same size, started with $10,000, and I built it to 100,000 really fast, and just buying a breakout went and usually there were IPOs, and they just would go, and I would just start selling pieces. And I was like, "One, oh, this is pretty easy. I can't believe what I'm doing." And he goes, "This is great." And then that was the beginning of the internet. And then as it got deeper into, um, I was making more money, and so I mean, listen, it was great, and people can't, unless they were there, the old timers, they understand. And I remember being at a Traders for a Cause event at Tom Kelly's house, and Phil Godecker asked me, he was, well, what was that like? And he said, was it like Tilray? And I said, yeah, I said, gosh, I said, it was like Tilray. And then Joe Fahmy walked up, and he looked at me, he goes, well, what's your answer? I go, Tilray kind of, and he goes, times 300 stocks doing that.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it was really, it was a crazy time. But I think the financial crisis really, because I never, 9/11 happened, and just coming from a world where my dad was really, he was hard on me, but always trained me well. He goes, you will see a bear market that will just take your breath away, and you need to see. You're lucky you get to see the two extremes.
Hmm.
And I think that the craziness of that, where you just see is, or is the system going to hold up? And when I tell people that, they would laugh, but that's when I found out about, hey, it's time to print money. And I didn't know, as much as you're an advisor, and I mean, you're talking to people, but like, I enjoy dealing with my own money, but I took it more personal for individuals than I do myself.
Mhm.
And so those are the big things um, that really stand out in my mind. I mean, yeah, there's crazy stories I think that happened to me that humbled me, but there's those are just a few of the you're sitting there shell shocked.
Hmm.
And I wasn't going short. I was just primarily a long trader then. And so, my dad says, "Well, one day you'll need to learn how to go short." And so ultimately I did. It was uncomfortable. And now it's probably a little more comfortable to me where going long is just I'll do it. And I was a swing trader. And now I'm primarily a day trader, but I'm working on more longer term swings in different accounts just because just of my age and so it's I see the evolution of the young fearless young gun, how they're out there now from the COVID to um, to where I am now in the age process, and the just being able to focus mentally, and there's more challenges for sure that I've personally dealt with, and but I was pretty fearless. I had a good mentor that I don't know if it was good or bad that I never blew up an account. I was
Wow.
always careful because it was just put in my head protection of principle, protection of principle. It's not your God-given right to make money. And I was always fearful not growing up with a whole lot of money and having to work and Christmas breaks and when I was in high school and and college wasn't for me. It was about for me, I tried it and I just loved charts. And then slowly I just when I got into it and I said, well, maybe this is the best way to be I got my dad being a financial advisor. And so it treated me right, but it wasn't the love of my life like trading was.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So,
And if,
so
just on that, if you could like go back in time and just for trading reasons, could go back in time to trade an era again, which one would you go for? Which one did you enjoy the most?
.com.
.com definitely was a
And I mean um, the compare to COVID, I would say that's as close as it came. I notice things happen faster now. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree. I think if you're in a bear market, bull market, whatever it is, I don't care. Um, I think just things, the speed of things. You don't have to deal with I think the as far as the algorithms back then. I mean, they were there, they were just getting started, but um, I would say .com. But COVID was listen,
close second.
it was just I was trading stocks I normally never trade, and it was fun, and it was like um, I think there's those periods we get, and I don't know if it's every 20 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, um, to be prepared. And there's times where things are just you have that chance to make a lot of money or a substantial amount and save your money. And I think that's the thing I was always pretty good about, paying a home off, not having a car payment. And here again, the Italian background
Hmm.
and the just, and that was very important. I tell younger people that, like make sure, you know, you have things, don't quit your job if you're doing this part-time yet. And so, and seeing, the passion is, I had the passion, and that's you can't teach that, you know.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. More about like conversely, then, like you've obviously touched on the highs of your career, but there must have been periods where you thought, I don't know, perhaps it was a little bit boring. There wasn't, there just wasn't the action. Was there a time perhaps that was pretty crap?
um yeah, I find sometimes now I'll get bored and I my mornings are usually, you know, pretty good and I'll put something in the trade in the mornings right now, like in a category. I remember talking to Nate about this, and or maybe it was a Sunday YouTube video, and categorize trades, and that was a very impactful conversation that he spoke about. And so I said, for me mentally, like starting out really good, or just being up on the day, and gives you a cushion. It's like that pre-market trading. There was a time pre-market trading, and I never had pre-market trading, never really did a lot of it. During that COVID period, crazy time, But yeah, I would say the action right now to me is it's more slow, controlled, sometimes boring. This is sometimes when I'll leave, go work out. It gives my brain, there's stuff I'm working on, not being an old school sitting and looking at this, and my wife has really gotten on me. So I'm trying to change some things, for health wise too.
Mhm.
So you think you're invincible, but sometimes it catches up with you.
And what about then? Like, it sounds like you're describing like a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but
No, no, go
has
ahead.
it been a little bit like you're a little bit burned out from trading then, perhaps, with how exhausting it
Yeah, I
can
don't
be
know
and
if you remember.
routine?
I sent you a message, and I don't know. I don't know if it was a year ago, 2 years ago, and I've been feeling more of the burnout at periods of time, and I think it's always something. Listen, I would love for a great conversation of, like, and of burnout, because I know, spoke with, Nate, and it's great to seeing that, when I see Stan and Chris doing, the Sunday night scan, I was like, it just puts, there's like, because Chris, you always speak to me because there's your the way you visualize stuff and the way the information you put out, you articulate very well. And I'm like, one, okay, I like that, and I stick to some of the same reoccurring um, stocks, like, Carvana, and just, SMCI. And so I find that's helped. And you change along the way, but it's just stuff that, okay, like, I like that. I've gotten something out of it for me, and everybody trades different, So yeah, the burnout. My wife says I don't take any vacations, and I have to have my laptops and then an extra monitor. And
Yeah.
I went on Amazon and bought one of these big suitcases to haul around, an extra 32. I mean, it's just like ridiculous. But the minute I don't take a laptop with me, um, it's when I'll need it, And
That's the issue though, because you're always like, oh, whilst I'm off, there's going to be the opportunity that like can pay for this holiday or whatever, and you're like, I don't want
exactly.
to miss that. I mean, that's why I love it when, because I always get surprised by the public holidays that you guys have on like Martin Luther King Day, for example. Obviously, we don't celebrate it over here, so I'm like, oh my god, 3 day weekend, it's amazing. And
Mhm.
I'm forced to take that day off, and I have a 3 day weekend, and then I'm always like, why
It,
don't I? Why don't I do this more? Like, I feel so much better.
it's nice, right?
It's lovely. Amazing.
And then Russell, what's the longest you've ever gone without trading, do you think?
Sounds like 2 hours.
So you had to ask that question,
Yeah.
because if my wife happens to see this, and she
Oh,
doesn't know,
we started recording 19 minutes ago, so this might
yeah,
be a
that's
personal best.
okay. The longest I've gone without trading is probably, um, I would say it's probably been a week, but let me preference this: a week. Um, I wasn't away from the computers. Maybe I was just burned out. I wasn't, because I think our focus, my lightning focus that 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, whatever it was, it's not what it once was. And it's a very hard ego thing for me to recognize. And I have, when my 25-year-old son I hear him behind me, banging keys, and I'm just like, um, and the speed I have. So, I'm very deliberate. So yeah, I can, I can step back, Chris, to answer your question, but have I ever just walked away and not have a laptop? And I promise this year I'm going to do it at least for a week. I will take a laptop, but I won't open it. But it's just because the minute I don't, it's it's when it's great. And as you guys know, COVID, you're just like, I mean, I was ready. Like then you're exhausted. You're just like, I can't
Hmm.
do pre-market trading. I mean, I would get up at 4 a.m. Eastern time, and I'm like, holy cow! It wasn't like I was trading any big size, but I'm like going, I'm looking at my P&L, and I don't look at it while I'm doing, but I'm like, God, I think it was like 4 grand, and just for taking some just small, I'm like, okay, this is paying okay. So then I have a cushion. So um, yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
So
I think so many traders really struggle with that.
I'm ashamed. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's an addiction, if it's a um, I don't know what it is. I've actually talked to a therapist about it, and it's not like I'm not a big gambler. Like, if we're in Vegas for a conference, I may play some craps, but it's more like, um, it's more like just throwing a couple $100 and just enjoying myself. And if I win money, great. But it's not like I just want to have fun and I want to have interaction, but I enjoy, the interaction. And if I'm around a group of traders, we may talk about stuff, but it's not, I just want to hear about their families and their kids. And I see the evolution of, I remember Nate when he didn't have kids, and you start seeing, and like, I'm always happy. And I think as I've gotten older, I enjoy the aspects of seeing, Dawson's of the world, when he first came in, and Dawson, I'll text, and sometimes I'll vent to him, and just saying, Dawson, I'm like struggling with just, and I want to hear someone young minds, and because he's always so positive,
Hmm.
and I try to stay positive, but sometimes I'm just like, you know, and it's true, it's not healthy. My wife says we live a unhealthy environment, and I think it's an individual thing. Like, I keep my blood pressure medication is right here.
Like
It's
more vodka.
yeah, it's like so um, yeah,
But
yeah,
you do
I'm
come
embarrassed to
across
say that though.
you do come across so like positive all the time, and like I know like we're sort of joking and we're saying like, oh, you know perhaps there is a little burnout, but equally you've been doing it like over 3 decades. That's a really like strong innings regardless. So I mean, how have you got to this point where you look, obviously, I know you touched on while we're off camera, there's a milestone birthday coming up, but you look incredible. You're in great shape. And I know you just showed us you're on some blood pressure tablets, but like you still seem like extremely happy and like that guy who just wants to seize the day still. So I mean, how have you been able to
Yeah.
maintain that whilst trading for so long?
Um, I feel like there's a lot of responsibility. I've been blessed as far as, saving my money and doing all the right things, and and it were always goals of, hey, having your house paid off or whatever. I don't need to live a glamorous lifestyle. And when you're younger, I think I went through cars. When I was in my 30s, I'm going to get this new car, and you know you go through the materialistic stuff, and I don't do that anymore. It's not that important. When I was young, when I started out, my whole goal of trading was, you're gonna laugh. It was to, get a little extra money, pay off my house, but I didn't ever want to worry about, you know, an electric bill, to paying my electricity. And it hits me because it was so simple, but I just didn't want to worry about something like that, and never just. I mean, just the little things. I mean, I appreciate that stuff now. It's probably the little things I appreciate, and being able to do something nice when it's time. And I rather, take you guys to dinner up, and I get more out of that, and just the camaraderie. And I'm a person that I like seeing other people do extremely well. Like I enjoy it, and I don't mind getting critiqued, and like, and because then I'll ask the questions like, hey, maybe you can show me, because I'm not Mr. Technology. YouTube's a fantastic thing, but I'm never embarrassed to go, hey, how do you do this scan? Because I don't know. I stick to the same type of stocks, and it's really that's sometimes when I lack focus, I'm looking at too many things.
Mhm.
And so, if you get into bad habits, like I have bad habits, so
Yeah, we're gonna hold you to that dinner then.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
like the sound of that, and I completely agree with that because I'm like I think I touched on the show that we're going through a house renovation, and I think last week this week we just had our second new carpet put in, and we're like, oh my god, this is amazing, and we've just had like a new sofa put in, and I'm like, sometimes it really is just like the little things that we perhaps take for granted, like you said, like paying one of your bills off or whatever, but having that peace of mind, just having somewhere to sit. I'm not going to say it's changed my life, but it's made me like in a week. I've just can tell I've just gone, okay, I've got that space to chill, and I'm in a much better mood, which is always a good thing. Um, there are a couple of things that we wanted to. Well, there's a couple of current events that so in the news this week.
Right.
Pick your brain on. So obviously, like you said, you've touched on. You've been around a while. What do you make of 24/7 trading, which they are talking about at the moment?
Oh God, that's a great question. I remember, don't know if it was during .com, right after .com, early 2000s. But there was a time they mentioned the same thing, 24/7 trading, and I used to think back then, just younger, I go, I don't think that'll work. And just because, like when you're ready to shut things off, um, because we're inundated with, information, Twitter feeds, and it's just too much. And you listen, I get a lot of great information off of that. I mean, I barely watch uh, the news. Even the financial network on CNBC, they're like so. I don't get a lot of value out of that. I'm definitely more patient this year, and I think people have to be like a great example, like SMCI, and that's for me. I've gotten more into options, and I've never been an option player. I have a friend of mine who lives in Arizona. I don't know if you met him when I had never been to Traders for a Cause, and I brought him this year, and he's a big option guy, and he's great at what he does, and he takes the time, and like I'm like an infant, I'm like going, explain that to me again, like it's going to take me a little time, but then as I've gotten better, and my son is actually, he just trades S&Ps, not SPX, SPYs, and so I started, that's been for me, that's been a big change for me. But as far as like SMCI, that was a great option trade, as you guys sure participated. Um, and you just waited, and I would hear Nate say, Chris, you would talk about it. It's just you have the themes, and there's always those themes, the AI theme, and what I learned from .com to even this, there's everybody loves it. Everybody's, they're positive on certain things, but they get so extended. I remember, put it this way, I'm so old, I'm such a fossil. SMCI, I remember that and they're almost out of business. I don't know if it was 2010, 2011. They had no cash. When people like Ricky Analog, they do the filings. I'm like, going, wow, this is, so you have this turnaround situation, which I had been following that stock, when it was $600, $300. I'm like, wow, So, this takes on a life of its own. But to get in front of it and go short, um, I just rather just get where it's just silly and then wait, um, wait till it breaks down. But there were some great, tremendous option opportunities to to make to make some, really, really good money. And
life changing money with some of
yeah,
them.
and so, um, I think if you can get one or two of those a year, it's great. But I've kind of built everything on batting average. I'm a singles, doubles type person, and that's what I want to do. And I know there's times that you're going to make some, you look at your account and your month and your week, and you're like, wow, it, but I don't like to let it get to my side of my head. And so, yeah, so I think it's been a pretty good year. I've noticed when I take a lot of notes, and it's just very simplistic, you know, and I've noticed for me the last couple of years, there's always these after 11 a.m. Eastern time, roughly, to get these slow grinds back up. So I tell my wife and she loves a trade. I'm like, she goes, well, I have my other job. There's something for everybody, and it's just a matter of recognizing the market conditions, and that's a hard thing. And I think that's what younger people struggle with, because it's and I had the same problem. From you have the .com, you have the financial crisis, you have so many things, and being able to recognize that. So it's been it hasn't been definitely not one of my best years, but the year's still young, and I just kind of look at a snapshot for myself every, 6 months, but it's not, I can't let that play in my head. I don't get emotional about that kind of stuff, because,
Sure.
I just want, above average, good year. And then listen, when there's those COVID years, you're like, holy cow. And I, as much as I love it, sometimes it's a detriment, because for the younger person who hasn't been around and they're starting to make money, they're like, oh, I got this.
Hmm.
And the stock gods have a funny way of humbling
Slowly
people.
start.
So it's kind of how it's going to end. But like so many people I've talked to, and get their advice, and I know, like you guys know, things can just last a lot longer. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and I think it was Stanley Druckenmiller was saying that a lot of times when those hot periods come around, it's the new people who don't have all the scars that do the best, because they don't really know any better. And so I remember he was telling a story of for his fund, he was just constantly hiring. I think it was during the .com bubble, like who was doing really well, who hadn't been trading for that long, and he was just hiring these people, and they would do a run for 2 or 3 months, and then they would start changing or performing. He would let them go and hire other people to do it, and it was just that cycle of aggression and the right market. And I've said this quote a couple of times by Howard Marks, but he says that for success you need three things: timing, aggression, and intelligence. And if you get the timing right and you're aggressive, you don't need much intelligence. And I think that that's like what you were describing with the .com bubble. Just having that boldness and being in the right market, I mean, that is, you can make huge amounts of money, but then if you have that aggression but you don't have the intelligence, then you end up losing it when that cycle turns.
right. I mean, I think the experience has been it's been tremendous. I mean, everybody, you get this experience, but then sometimes it's to a detriment, because I have so much stuff in my head, experience, and and I notice everything doesn't happen exactly like it did before. And so I still do expect the unexpected. And some of my, like, I couldn't even tell you. Yes, I know SMCI was, like, for me, great, trade, but I'm molded by all my big losses. That's
Mhm.
what, someone goes, well, what'd you make money on? And I'm like, that's not what I remember. I remember, to your point, Chris, like, no scars, no story. And it's like, you know, everybody who's like hey, yeah, this is great. This is my P&L. I mean, like, listen, when someone shows me I don't need to see someone's P&L, but when someone says, here's my bad P&L, I feel sorry for them. I take more, I probably worry more about my son and that's probably affected me more this year because like how they're doing, what are they doing? For me, I'm very robotic with it. I really am. Um, I'm an emotional person. You show me a story or tell me something, something, a human touch that someone did something for somebody. And I'm just like, wow, or someone that, came from nothing to something. Like I'm very touched by that. But as far as trading, I don't, you know, I probably have gotten really mad once or twice, you know, every couple of years. And it's just like, and I know what I did wrong. And I'm like going, you're stupid, but take a walk, leave, come back, regroup. Tomorrow's a new day. Every day's that's what I like about this.
Yeah, tomorrow's definitely a new day. So wanted to get your take on something. So last night, I mean, Chris, you might be in a better position to give an overview. Last night, Tesla obviously dropped their earnings, which I'm pretty sure they missed, but then there's some positive outlook, right? Chris, are you onto that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple parts to that. And one of them, there's a guy, Jason Shapiro at Traders for a Cause this past year who talked about the positioning. Yes. And I think that was a good example of, even if you do have bad news, if people are so positioned so that, even bad news doesn't bring it down, everyone's on the wrong side and it swipes the other way, at least for, a period of time. And I think that that's what you kind of encounter in those Tesla situations where it's like, bad news is coming. They say bad news is coming. It doesn't go down and everyone's on the wrong side. And now it needs a tape reset. And I think that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. And touching on that for 1 second. I do love the one thing I've learned more so in the last 5, 6, 7 years is the psychology of, and to your point, everything. And I enjoy Jason, he's his own guy.
Yeah,
And, and much respect, but it is true, and when everybody's thinking the same way, and you're right, it could end up that way, but they like, the market gods will change it. And I was thinking, this thing's, here again, if I'm going to buy and hold for a swing, it's gotten very hard for me. I'm been working on a whole different strategy. Like I call it a grandpa strategy for something like a swing, for a little bit longer term. But right, I don't, and the simple thing I do tell people this when the earnings come out, and even for myself, like I have to tune out certain things. They go, well, look, these numbers said this, their growth is this, and you look at things and I'm like, what's the price action tell me? Because I know the news. I may not go deep into the earnings because like by the time it's the night before, I'm tired, and then in the morning I'm like, I'll be looking, and someone like Judah, or I had this conversation with like Ricky Analog. It's like, and it's a lot of guys who are like, well, the stock's doing what it's doing. I've missed this opportunity, getting focused on something else. But you're right. It's I always say bad news stocks, if you're short and it's going up against you, like and it keeps going, like bad news equals good price action. Like don't be hard-headed, and I do think people get hard-headed. Well, it's gonna, like, well, I don't know, we're gonna all die one day. Something, it's gonna happen. And just like those are blowout numbers. And like AI it's been a great sector, but I'm like, things top out before the news comes later. And it's just like when you see all this, like, as much as I love Nvidia, and I never have these big swing trades and hold them, like someone says, hey, do you trade Apple and hold it? I go, no, my idea of a good trade is, hey, if I buy it at 20 and I can trade it to 1,000, 500 times long or short, I'm okay with it. So
makes a lot of sense. But you touched on being like, you used to be into cars. I want to know what you make of this beast.
Oh, I saw one in person in the showroom at the Tesla showroom in Tampa. I've never had the privilege of being in one. I think it's pretty modern looking. I like when they show the videos of shooting machine gun and it reflects. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
the technology. I mean, whether people like Elon Musk or not, um, I wasn't a big fan of his years ago. However, I mean, the guy's brilliant. So would I buy one? No, because I don't like a lot of eyes on me. I don't have that, you know, um, you know, the license tag that says NVIDIA One, um, or whatever. I'd rather someone tell me a story. Hey, I built this house on NVIDIA stock. Just telling me, I'm like, great. Okay. I like to hear that, but I don't need like attention brought to me. That's not what I'm looking for. But yeah, I would love to ride in one and see, but it's just, I couldn't see myself in that,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't bet against Elon. That's one thing. I mean, and no matter what someone thinks of him, I think there's so many people that come along, um, and so I do listen. Whether you like X, Twitter, um, I have a different take on that. But I enjoy. I don't know he's always tweeting. Runs businesses. I mean, there gets to be like like my wife and I just bought a place over on Cocoa Beach on the east coast of Florida, and her family lives over there. And so I just love to be able to watch all these, SpaceX rockets because I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And watching
wow.
the boosters come down, like, who can do that? Like, like
Yeah,
I mean, the stuff is, I don't know, just a smart, bright guy. I wouldn't bet against him, and that's the thing. I mean, yeah, he's a little out there, but that's okay. I'm like, you know, I mean, I'm sitting here in front of monitors and people think I'm nuts, but I mean, I'm not Elon, and like Steve Jobs. I mean, they're all little. I think they have some similar personalities when you
Mhm.
start reading, but that's okay. I think you know they just have their own ideas, and I'm fine with it. But as
I
far as
have a side question really quick. So, a lot of traders, they have, either spouses or girlfriends or boyfriends who are, non-traders. And so we kind of joke about like, can they tell if like you had a good day or a bad day? But being married to someone who also trades, what's that dynamic like?
whoa, Chris, now you asked me. You asked me.
you'll be diplomatic with your answer now as well.
Well,
Reach
it's
for the blood pressure medicine.
Yeah.
I will tell you, my wife, she has the passion. She, she always hears me tell these stories, of like, of the past when the money was just, you could be an idiot and you're just making, you know, I just remember I was just like, this is incredible, um, and so it's challenging because, um, she said, and she was at Traders for a Cause, and she was telling some individuals that you both know, and she's, well, Russell doesn't really help me, and I'm like, sometimes like, well, show me the bad trades. I don't want to see the good trades, and I go, you can show them to me, but just show them to me, and I said, and you can critique what I do, and I know what, and it's not. She goes, no, I don't want to do that. I had a loss. I go, well, that's the only way you're going to learn, and so I think they have to come into their own. It is challenging, and she thinks sometimes she goes, "Oh, you're in a bad mood. You must have had a bad day." And she goes, "You never celebrate your wins." I go look at I don't even look at my weekly. I look at my month, and in your head, you kind of know. You have a general idea. I said, I can't get caught up in a P&L. I said, this is what I do. This pays my bills. Other investments that I've made, but it's all because of this. And so, yeah, it's very challenging. Sometimes I rather like, you know, not have someone that is involved in this. But I said, I always tell her, I go, my time frame and Warren Buffett's time frame and style are two different styles. It's what works for, he has a lot of money. I'm paying bills, and trying to save some money, even, and so and she has a whole nother job. And so I think sometimes when people have other jobs, but she loves it, she would love to quit her job, but she needs X number to support her kids in college, and she's in New York City, and I'm like, this is you're kind of behind the eight ball if you have to make money. You come into this and you have to make money, and we all have to make money. But when you come in every day, I don't care. I have to make. I go. You will. You have to focus on that process. You guys all know this, and and correct your own mistakes. It's like they only give you so much in football terms or any sport. You can't throw 80 yards down the field to your receiver if the defense is not giving that. And so I'm very aware of what they're giving me. And sometimes you just extract, what they're giving you. And listen, I don't get mad if things go higher or lower, from long or short. I said, it's just opportunity. Even if I've missed so many trades, I mean, I have side charts of like UAL, but I know sometimes that's a weird side. I started overnight swing. I don't have any size, and I was looking at it. I'm like, okay, but I won't chase it down. I'm like, if it comes up, I'll add some more. But if not, because as you guys know, when everybody's eyes are on something, it just doesn't seem like it. They got to just drag those people out. And I learned a lot of that from listen to Investors Underground stuff, which is always lights out. And I've learned from other individuals. So yeah, it's challenging. Chris, sorry for the long-winded. I get a little long-winded sometimes, so I apologize.
That was great.
No, it's great, and it's interesting because there's not many of. I don't know many people that have that dynamic of, both persons trading, because actually, a lot of the time, particularly like if you have had if you had a good day or a bad day, I think it's always good to have someone that brings you back to the ground and be like, actually, that's just one day. It doesn't really matter. You got tomorrow. Let's go and have dinner or whatever.
Yeah. When you get away, you just want to kind of get away, and I don't mind talking about it. But she goes, you don't celebrate the big victories. I go, it's just not my thing. I have to stay, like, for me, just level. I'm like, hey, it's just not.
Yeah.
The highs and hello. I just want to stay in the middle of the range.
That's so good. I think that's an underrated talent, though, to be able to just remain neutral. And like Kim Ann Curtin talks about it a lot of the time. Like, you have to have that neutral state coming into the day. Whereas the way you just touched on, if you're thinking I've got to make money, there's a good chance you probably won't. You come in thinking I'm just going to take the opportunities, and that's what I mean. I know that whenever I feel a little bit of financial pressure, that's when I trade the worst.
Yeah,
I want to buy a new golf club.
You're going into your savings, and you're going into stuff, and it's just it's a different. I've only had really one time where my brain was so messed up over a trade that I literally had to there was an opportunity to day trade it, and I was being a dumbass and swing trading something, not knowing some information, and it was a blue chip stock, and someone says, a buddy of mine says, it'll come back. I don't go by comebacks. It's just a dot, and I have to focus on my mental aspect. So I took my loss, I pared it down, took my loss, left, and I came back the next day, and I was 80% better. So
good.
That's awesome. Right. Well, I can't believe it. We're at 50 minutes. Well, we're rattling through this conversation. I've just had so much fun. Always enjoy talking to you, Russell. I must admit, and it's great seeing you. I mean, that's one of the great things you've touched on as well is just meeting people at Trades for Calls. Like, we've only met twice. We've spoken loads online. We've been suddenly. I remember the first time I met you. I just walked into the gym and I was like, "Hey, there's Russell. Oh my God, he's actually got some guns on him." Literally, my first thought was, "Oh, he's carrying around some pythons on there." And I definitely, no, I appreciate the kind words over the years, and it's been awesome
Yeah.
getting to know you. That's for sure. And hopefully, I assume you sponsor Trades for a Cause as well. I assume you're planning to go this year.
I'll be there, and it's one of the things I look forward to. I've done some small events. I went to Arizona. I took my son, and there's some younger people, and I just say, just get involved, because the first year I went, the only person I knew was Kunal Desai.
Mhm.
And Kunal's like, he's the life of the party. He's fun, and I learned so much, and you know personal connection. And I think that's the thing. You get these personal connections, and you're able to reach out to somebody, and way Discord is like, sometimes I'll talk to Emil. I'm like, here I am in Florida, he's in Romania, and he's like one of the nicest guys. And I've met, there's a lot of nice people, very few that, and I'll help anybody. And listen, at the same time, I always get something back, and I don't, that's not what I do anything for, but that's, like I said, I enjoy reading. I use, like, stuff, I got away. I don't do like small caps, just because shorting, it's just for me. It gives me so much anxiety. But like the bigger picture stuff, and so there's like, I know I can read Chris's stuff, and it's just like, I just don't, at this point in my life, I don't think you need to jeopardize a lot of your hard work. And there's peaks and valleys, but um, I don't. It's hard. I think this is when you see people that are going to stick around. It's unfortunate, because I see, you know, without Twitter and X, though, I would have never met the people and the connections. And so I'm always very grateful for that. And I say it to everybody when they say this is a cesspool. Yeah, of course there is. There's not nice people, and that's okay. I don't read a lot of that stuff, and sometimes go in that black hole, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, you can police your Twitter. I completely agree, and like it's the same like with IU. Like I will always be eternally grateful for Nate and IU, just because like that was the place where I joined and just felt at home straight away. I'm not just saying this, and I just met people, and from there you develop those relationships. From there you end up going to your first Traders for a Cause, and then it's
Right.
amazing actually how quickly everything just snowballs, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden, like I've just got like literally I'm having more conversations. I'm like with Americans now than I am with my own friends sometimes. It's just I think it's
And I mean, it's really great. Now, Chris, you were there this year.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to come up and talk to you. Like, I was like, my wife and my buddy that I invited, and he's kind of a bigger than life guy. And so there's just like, on the go. I'm like, the old man needs to take a little nap. And so,
Yeah, it was great this year. I did my first Traders for a Cause in Chicago, and that's kind of what kicked everything off with Nate, and that's where I met him. Because I had been
oh,
in
really?
IU, yeah, before that, but it was at the Chicago event. He and I had a great long conversation, and we really clicked, and that's how I got more involved with doing stuff with Investors Underground. And then I went to the Vegas event, the big one, and I was on a panel with a couple people, and that was just a great experience. And then you were honored at that
Yeah, I
Creators for a
was.
Cause. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Listen, I don't like a lot of attention. I don't mind. I've gotten, this used to be kind of uncomfortable for me, just to talk on video, but now, you do it enough, you just like, it's not, you just be yourself. Yeah, I was definitely surprised. And Derek Leon, I had met him, the I think it was the very first, maybe the first Traders for a Cause. I sat next to him. Like I said, I didn't know anybody, but I was always introducing myself, and like, hey, like, I like this, because these most of these people are kind of like me. No matter what the ages are, I don't could care less. And I said, hey, I read a chapter about a book about you. I said, and he was the nicest. Um, didn't know him personally, but just had some few pleasant exchanges. And I really enjoyed, just how, he was just kind, and he was kind of in awe that someone liked his material. I was just like, wow, I got this young guy, and so when he passed away, like I said, I wasn't, but I think the community is so um, um, people know, people like, I text with Ricky Analog all the time, and I'm trying to learn how to play golf, and
Good.
I pretty much suck at it. My
No,
son's
you'll be better, Russell. You'll be better than me. Don't worry.
no. But so I think everything. I swing at like a baseball. And so, but Chris, yeah, it was an honor. I was shocked. I don't think there's, I don't know. I just do things. I try to be nice and helpful to everybody, and I'm the first. If I see somebody on Twitter and they've lost their money or wiped out, I'm just like, hey, you don't know me. You want to talk? Here's my number. I give everybody out my cell number, and maybe it's to a detriment. I don't really care, because I think that's what bothers me the most when I see people. Um, they can make a lot of money and then they lose it all, and then they owe the IRS money, and I just I don't do things any recognition, but I enjoyed the fact of being a sponsor, inviting someone. Like, I have a gentleman that I've met through Twitter um, for the last couple of years, and he's got a remarkable story, and he's got a full-time job, and we've spoken. We have a lot in common from family wise, and I just like, man, this guy deserves to go. I'm like, I said, so, and even the guy I brought last year, he's a great trader, but he goes, I've never been to this. And he's just a larger than life kind of guy, and hilarious. And I've learned a lot of option stuff from him. So that's been my big thing this year is I always want to learn, but yeah, I was very touched. I was,
It was a good moment. It was a great
I mean,
moment.
I don't need that stuff. And like I said, I don't like the attention shot. I don't mind talking, but it caught me a little off guard. Yeah. So,
Well, it was definitely well deserved, and
wow.
congratulations on that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
No, definitely, no, absolutely, definitely.
I like having a good time, making laughs, and watching Lucci, be the great comedian that I think he can be.
Yeah.
So I mean, I look
Yeah,
forward to.
when
And those are
when he stops talking about Ozempic all the time, yeah.
yeah. If you can get him off of Ozempic, and
That's all that,
seeing him eat a couple Whoppers, and having some cookies, and like I do that all the time. Like I shouldn't, but I'm like, yeah, every now and then you got to treat yourself.
you gotta treat yourself. Right, just a reminder, everyone. I don't think I've said it yet, but if you are enjoying the conversation, please please like, subscribe, and Chris was generous last week. We wanted to know what was your biggest key takeaway from the episode or your biggest aha moment from last week. We basically kind of said you could say anything. Vince Binnett 8856. You've won a free month of IU. Email Tyler at investorsunderground.com. Great video. The key takeaway for me is about keeping it simple. At the end of the day, you are the only indicator you need is the feedback you're getting from the market telling you if you're right or on the wrong trade. If you're shorting, it's going down. That's all the confirmation you need. Chris was feeling generous, so Chris picked Vince, and you also picked TJ _undercover millionaire. But if you're a millionaire, well, we're giving you a free month anyway. So yeah, like I said, email Tyler Investors Underground. Key takeaway: important to have a well-defined trading plan. Traders should focus on risk management and position sizing. Be grateful. Yeah, I think that's, and you mentioned Ricky a few times. That's one of the things I absolutely love about Ricky when he just talks about gratitude is the attitude.
He's very, very grateful guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And traders should strive to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Oh God, TJ, you really put the effort in. I love it. I can see why Chris picked you. The compounding effect is powerful. Yeah, that was Brian Lee. It's important to be patient, avoid freezing when making trading decisions. And that was Nick talking about. Also, I suppose he's relating it to the military, and you can learn a lot about the markets of the world by being involved in the trading process. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, well done to you two. Just a reminder, do the same today. We'll see how generous Chris is feeling next week. I'm not going to promise anything because we'll soon be giving out too many. Right, Russell, we've just got some rapid fire questions just to finish on. If you were given $1 million and had to lose it all as fast as possible in the markets, what would you do?
That's a good question. And I had to lose it. You know what? I would probably give it to the 10 top deserving traders who have no money and see what they do with it. Yeah.
Forever, you're just forever the nice guy.
You know what? Because listen, they're probably going to lose it if they don't have some sort of process.
Yeah.
So, that's probably what I would do. Give them each $100,000.
No, great answer. Like I said, forever. This is my favorite question. I actually thought of I was thinking of an answer. I know we touched on traders for calls, but we got these Yeti.
Those are the best.
These are the best. Like the best purchase under 1,000. Well, I mean, my ticket was over 1,000, but this was definitely the best thing I think under $1,000 that I own. I use it every day, and I always feel a little bit safer because if someone, if you needed to defend yourself, this would probably hurt. So that's my
like a fire extinguisher.
I listen. I love it because my wife has one, and I have to put these stickers on it. So when we're around each other, like I have my own, and she's like, "Hey, you're using mine. I have the stickers on here."
So the question is, what has been your best purchase under $1,000 recently?
Oh, my best purchase. I would say, cryptocurrency? Could I use a crypto?
Yeah.
I would say ICP has been my best purchase of under $1,000. That's I get a lot of good content from Cody. He knows his stuff.
He knows his cryptos.
So I'm not this huge crypto guy, but I'm fascinated by the inner workings of technology of where it's going in the future, and yeah, I would say that ICP.
Oh, perfect.
So,
and this was a good one that we asked Ricky a couple of weeks ago, and we really liked his response. What is the best habit that viewers can implement starting tomorrow?
Hang on, let me pull it out. Once again, the notebook. Get a spiral notebook. Take notes. What's working and what's not, and I mean that, and knowing what kind of mood you're in. I always write my mood. If I'm not, because we can't be lightning focused every day, but I would definitely take the notes and see what's working and what's not. And you go through a week of, especially when you look at a range of certain things, like, why did I lose money on this short or long? I'm in the middle of a range and I'm buying it. I think be precise with your entries and your exits. Scale out of them. And it's hard to tell someone about the market environment. They just have to see it over a period of time. But very precise with your orders, entries, whether you're short or long, and and definitely have a plan. But that's part of it. COVID created a lot of sloppiness that would reward a lot of people, but and it's actually made me even a better trader as far as my orders and entries. And listen, if it doesn't come down or get in my area, you know what? It's just a lot. It's all I lost is opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. If you had this is one of your questions, Chris. If you had to park a large sum of capital in one asset for 5 years exactly, what would you choose? Can be either can be a broad or a specific asset.
I can give you one asset, and I would go Berkshire Hathaway.
Oh wow, okay,
That's what I would do.
good answer. And lastly, what's a great piece of advice that you've received?
You love a loss or like a loss, you know, because if you can't love a loss or like a loss, I mean, Ricky Analog said, I don't know about loving, but how about liking? And I
Yeah,
go, okay, it sounds actually better,
yeah,
because you get around people that say, I can't lose money. Well, this is not for you. You
yeah,
know, I lose money all the time. So, um, you know, like a loss and risk management. Risk management is everything. You know,
mhm.
that's the thing. It's, as you guys know, it's everything. And some people always have to be right. Risk management, that's the key.
Yeah. Good luck if you've got to always be right. No, thank you.
Listen, I get out of bed and I'm wrong. You know.
Exactly. Russell, I've had so much fun chatting to you. I really appreciate your time.
Anytime, and listen, we can get in more specific stuff anytime you guys want. And I enjoy it more because we're not around people. And this is like, I'm around people. Yeah, there's people I talk to on Discord, but I have to mute that because I need my own thoughts and
Yeah,
my own
I'm
plan.
finding that.
So
And that's exactly, and this is like exactly what we want with the episodes, is us to have a great chat. So I've had so much fun today. I always let Chris always has the last word. Chris, any last words?
Yeah, just Russell, thank you so much. I mean, it's been a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you more. And you could really tell, like you mentioned, that you're very level, like in your trading, but you can definitely tell that you experience those highs and lows, especially when it comes to other people. And just that level of empathy is something that I really admire about you. So yeah, it's
thank
very noteworthy.
thank you. I
Really,
appreciate it. So yeah, it's it's always hurtful to see someone, you know, hurt themselves, and I can deal with a lot of stuff, but that to me is like something that I don't get any, you know, I don't get anything good out of that. But I appreciate that, Chris. Those are very kind words coming from the man with the best hair
that's, yeah, I don't win that award.
and a great trader too. You
Thank
On
know,
you.
that note,
Thank
when Chris says something, I'm like, let me make a note because I go,
you.
Chris
I
is
always
like,
said to Chris, when Chris talks, he's one of those guys I
hey,
listen.
let me want to ask one last question. Chris, how long have you been trading for?
Since the beginning of 2016, end of 2015, around then.
Oh yeah, you got a good time, so
Yeah, not as
Seen
long as
some
you.
crazy stuff, but not
I,
32 years. We're 32 years trading. That's longer than I've been alive. So just to leave you on a
Yeah,
positive note there.
I was
That's
just saying, we'll see what his hair's like in 2 decades' time, and then we'll compare you. But then we'll compare you to.
he'll still have great hair.
On that note, thanks, Russell, and thanks, guys, for watching. We'll
Guys,
see you
thank
next
you so
week.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Anytime. And I miss
thank you
Judah
guys.
too.
Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of Trading Takes. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please check out some of others with some great traders. Thank you for watching.